will rotate around your character, and that could be great for some games, but I personally don't like it, and I definitely don't like it when I'm trying to test the game. So I uncheck this box, and you'll notice at the top it says is main camera motor, and you can check that on for being the main camera. You can change the camera type actually, so this is the adventure camera settings here, and you can change the type to a first person or venture camera, or you can change it to a fixed, follow, railway camera, target camera, a tween, or an orbit camera, depending on your needs. And you can switch cameras by triggering actions in the game in runtime, so it's super helpful and just something to remember. So okay, we have our camera motor and we have our main camera. If you look down here at the bottom of our main camera, you'll see that our camera motor is right here, and it's referencing this camera motor. And if it's not in there, you want to make sure that you drag the camera motor in there so that it can move the player in the right way and start off with the correct camera motor to do that. And you would just drag this in, left click, and drop it into the slot, but we don't need to do that, it's already here. We have our directional light, and up at the top we have our move tools here, and you may be familiar with those, but if not, if you need to focus on an object and you're wanting to kind of rotate the light, which you can't move the light with the tool because it's kind of stagnant, kind of pointing and casting on the plane that we have set up. If you need to move or rotate the light, you can press F to focus on the directional light specifically, and then if you go up to the tool and hit rotate, then you'll be able to actually rotate this light around, and you'll notice that the shadow on the player moves with it. That's really cool. Okay, so, and you can also increase the intensity if you need to of the light, and you can do soft shadows or hard shadows or no shadows at all, and adjust the strength of the light or the shadows as well. And there's other options here to increase the bias and in the near plane of the light, and other options, but we're not going to get into that right now. What we have in our scene is we have a plane, and I've just gave it a green material, and you can see the materials are here. You can just right click and hit create and go to material, and you can change the base map color to anything you like with the wheel, and then on the square here you can change the exact opacity and darken the color if you need to. And I'm not going to do this because I've already done it, but then you can pretty much drag, and you can rename these however you need to, and you can left click, drag, and drop it onto and you can see change the character color as well, and drag it on any object, and you're pretty much ready to go. So real quick, I'm just gonna start a new scene and we'll set all of this up, but let me first tell you what else we have in the scene. We just have this cube, so if I click the cube here, or I can click the cube over here. I've just made a cube for demonstration purposes, and I have made it more along the lines of a baseball base that you could walk over. So you can see the cube in our scene here, and you can walk over it. And currently I have a score in the scene, and that's actually on a canvas, and it's just a text setting here. And I'll show you what this does real quick, but we're going to set it up, and it's fairly simple and easy. So when I walk over the base, we get a score of 50. And if you walk over again, we still remain to have the score of 50. So that's really our goal, and it's fairly simple. So we're gonna set all of this up very quickly. I'm just gonna go to new scene. I'm using the universal pipeline right now, but it doesn't matter which pipeline it is. You could be using the default pipeline, universal pipeline, or the HDR pipeline, and it's not going to affect how this tutorial would go. So I'm just going to save. That's fine, and you'll notice we just have our main camera, which we could, rotate in our scene as we needed. And you'll see a display of it down here. And we have our directional light, and that's all we have in our scene currently. We have some errors coming up down here, but everything basically just warnings, and you can hit play just to verify that even though that those are coming up, we can still play, and there's nothing actually wrong yet here. So let's go ahead and look at the top here, and Game Creator comes with this menu here, and there's the X button where you can close, and you can move the toolbar around however you'd like. So there's lots of options here, and I'm not going to go over all of these today, where you can create local variables and different things like this on the fly, but we're going to be focused on the character or the camera motor, and there's a marker where you could have the player walk to a certain position, or have the AI walk to a certain position, and you can use those markers in different use cases. Also, you could create a UI system with that, but you can also use this hotspot to make your character or player look up and down, or look at a specific object, and kind of give you a tooltip or a hint of how to interact in your scene. But we're not going to be looking at that today. We'll leave that for another day. We have our create a player. We have a create a character option, and we also have create actions and create conditions and create trigger. So these three here are our main ways to create visual code in Game Creator, and we're going to be creating a player, and we'll be using our triggers to activate and to basically trigger actions to happen. We could set up some conditions, but we're not going to focus on that right now. And let's go ahead and just put a right click on the hierarchy anywhere, and you can put a 3D object in your scene, and we're just going to use a plane. We could use the terrain, but that's more for the full game, and the plane is good enough just for a visual sake, for non-complexity, and just kind of giving us a nice path for our player to be able to walk by. So if I go over to my project, and we just like I said, you can right click and create a material, and then you can click on the material, and you can adjust the smoothness and the metal map there. And I kind of put the smoothness up a little bit. I kind of like to have this this sun kind of effect on my my plane. Just fun, so it's, and also so it's not so flat. But you don't have to do that. It's up to you. Okay, so when I clicked on my player, it automatically appeared in the scene. And what we really want to do, if you just click right here, but what I want to do right now is go to the plane, and let's increase the x-axis on the scale here. You'll notice in the transform, you can adjust the position of the plane or the rotation, but we want to change the x-axis scale. Let's change this to 500 and hit enter. You'll notice it got a lot longer. We probably don't need all the space, but it's fine. And then if you change the Z to 500, then you'll notice that it all got longer on all sides, and we have definitely a lot of room to work with in just that little, and just those quick settings there. And we don't need to adjust the Y, because the Y axis, if you notice, like, is in the green up here at the top. The Y axis is up and down, and then the X axis is left and right in 3D space, or more like horizontal movement, not so, not exactly left and right, but more like horizontal. And then we have our vertical on the y-axis, and then we have our z-axis, which is pretty much like depth in your 3D space. So we have this set up pretty nicely, and let's go ahead and give our player here something to interact with. Let's right click again on the hierarchy. And we have, if you just right click on hierarchy, go to 3D object and click the cube, you'll notice that our cube is, even if we click it, it's somewhere in 3D space here, and you can kind of get an example of where it's at, but don't let it fool you. In 3D space, it can get confusing slightly of where that's at. But you can see the position at the top, the numbers here. And if we hit F, we could actually kind of like focus on that object. But I'm going to hit player again, and you have to have your cursor in the window here to be able to hit F and focus. But I'm going to focus back on the player. And for the cube, I'm going to just click the cube. And we could set all these positions to 0, but it's going to put it at the edge of our plane here somewhere, and not necessarily where the player is. So a little trick you can do is you can add the cube to the player in the hierarchy over here, and you're basically making the cube child object of the player. And then once you do that, you can actually click the cube and hit reset with these little three little dots here, and you can reset the position of the cube, and it will inherit all of the position of the player for that time. And then you can actually move the cube away from being a child and put it by itself, and then you're able to move the cube independently and place it wherever you'd like. And let's just go ahead and hit play. You'll notice that we have nothing in our scene, and you're like, where did everything go? We have not added our important element, which is our game, or our camera motor. And let's go ahead and add that now. Just click camera mode here.